What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. Chris Pennell here, breaking down the Toyota Save Mart 350 in wine country as we head out west to California for Sonoma, another road course race. Hopefully not the SVG Invitational. I'm sure he'll win the Xfinity Series. I think he's like minus 300. But hopefully somebody in Cup can give him a challenge. Nothing against him, but it'd be nice to see somebody else win. And I'm back in Florida, as you can see, in the home office. Feels good. I do want to give a big thanks to everybody last weekend that commented or in the live chat. They gave me a congrats on the wedding. Really do appreciate that. And we got to find out at the wedding that we're having a baby girl in December. So lots to be excited about. But we're back and ready to grind NASCAR DFS once again. But anyway, if you're new here, my name is Chris Pennell. I break down NASCAR DFS each and every single week on this channel. Videos on Saturdays, live streams on Sunday. Planning for usually around 1 p.m. Eastern. So be there, be square. Always a good time. And if you do end up enjoying today's video, do me a favor and leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're brand new. And let's dive right into it. All right, let's talk some strategy here for Sonoma. Typical road course strategy, so it's basically always the same thing applies. Now, I'm recording this before practicing qualifying, and I will be doing the rest post-practice and qualifying this week, unlike last weekend. So we'll have that information. But at these road courses, we tend to have seen so far that we get quite a bit of chalk place differential plays. I'm hoping that's not the case once again, because it just turns everything into an absolute chalk fest. But with there only being 110 laps, which is actually more than most road courses, so honestly it kind of does bump up the dominator importance this weekend, but you're still typically looking at one dom builds plus either finishing position potential or place differential. I don't really see that changing this weekend, but like I said, with the more laps we have compared to most, I believe last week we had around 75. That's a little bit more dominator points, 77 to be exact this weekend. So if we do have an SVG in the poll, or maybe Kyle Larson or one of the Hendrick cars is up front, we think they could dominate. They could definitely rack up some points. All right, so looking at our visuals this week, I'm going to have two. The first one is just Sonoma at Next Gen. So it's only a few races, so not a big sample size. So I'm not sure if you want to take too much from it. And keep in mind, SVG is also never ran the Cup Series here, so he is missing from this list. I'm sure he'd be at the top. But so far, kind of a guy, I mean, he is good at road courses, tends to get the really good finishes, but Chris Buescher actually at the very top for the Sonoma sheet here. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. He's finished in the top 5 every time, and he was close to a win last year. I believe Kyle Larson stole that at the end, but yeah, Buescher at the very top. Michael McDowell also up there, and not surprised by the 2 Hendrick cars. I think if anybody is going to give SVG a run for his money this week, I say this before practice, it'll probably be either Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott. I think there's a really decent chance that they can definitely make some noise this week. Ross is somewhat in the mix as well. Then we kind of just get a big cluster. Like, these guys aren't elite at Sonoma. They are good at road courses, but yeah, the guys in the top right, plus I'm sure SVG this week will certainly be the contenders. And then looking at our next gen, which is a much larger sample size of data here, like 20-ish something races. Not for SVG, it's a bit smaller, but it doesn't matter. Every single time we're at a road course, he's the guy to beat, and he shows it on this graph. He's got a bit of a gap between him and the next guy, Tyler Reddick, and then you see Chase Elliott and Chris Bell. Now, Bell has not shown up as Sonoma as much. I still think he's one of the absolute best road course racers we have right now. Dinger, McDowell, Buescher, the Hendrick cars of Larson, Byron, and Alex Bowman. They're all in the mix every single time. I mean, these are the guys you're going to see that are contending for the win this weekend. And Ty Gibbs has had a couple of clunker races at road courses, but he is still, I think right now, one of the best there. And so far this year, he's ran very well at them. So personally for me, if we're just looking specifically at super recent data, I would definitely bump up Ty Gibbs because he has been awesome. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown, but I just mention one thing first, and as of course, it's for video guys, let me do my plug and feed the dong. But if you want to join the best NASCAR DFS community out there, link is down in the description or the pinned comment for the Patreon. And if you are a new user, you can sign up completely free for a week and test drive all the tools that I do have to offer. And we have NFL coming up in a couple of months. I'll be breaking that down in a similar fashion and on YouTube as well. And we do have baseball going on every single day currently. And I want to talk about every single thing on here. If you want to pause or screenshot, be my guest. But you not find this amount of data or tools available at these prices anywhere else. I do Trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup Series. I have optimizers for all 3 series, DraftKings and FanDuel, and the DraftKings Contest Simulator, which is the coolest thing on here. You can simulate up to 10,000 lineups at once for whatever kind of contest you are in, whether it be cash games, tournaments, small field GPPs, whatever it may be. You can tailor suit it to yourself every single weekend. So if you want to come and check it out, I'd absolutely love to have you. If not, that's fine. Let's dive right into it. All right, it's the next day. Practice and qualifying has concluded, and to no one's surprise at all, who do you know is on the pole? it's SVG. He's on the pole for the Xfinity race. He's on the pole for the Cup race. That is the last 4 races now. We will see if he can get the job done in Xfinity, probably. And we'll see what happens in Cup. Obviously, that's going to be a bit more of a question mark. But unlike recent weeks, it does not look like we're going to have like extreme major chalk PD plays just from the big dogs. It looks like pretty much everybody qualified, at least in the top half of the field. So at least that's going to make builds somewhat more interesting instead of just clicking on, ooh, we have Chase Elliott starting 38th. That's super obvious. So that'll make things more interesting at least, which is what we wanted. Now let's take a look over at practice. And SVG was actually not the fastest car in practice in the 1 and 5 lap, but first in the 10 and 15. But how many drivers ran that many laps in practice? But instead of looking at consecutive lap averages, let's look at the more important stuff. Let's look at these lap by lap numbers here. And once again, AJ Allmendinger just edging out SVG. He looks really good this weekend. I did exclude some of their bad laps. But either way, yeah, AJ Allmendinger looks extremely fast, and I was pretty impressed with what I saw from him. SVG is right there with him. I think during the actual race, we'll see SVG quicker. I mean, he was just so quick in qualifying. Maybe he was holding back just a little bit, but yeah, it looks like SVG will still be the man to beat. But not really surprised that everybody else we see up here, at least in the top 6. We have Dinger, Larson, Bell, Busher, Gibbs, guys we expected to contend. A couple of the Penske cars up here. I mean, wasn't really sure what to expect from Joey. I think Blaney's actually been somewhat all right at the road courses so far this year, but Joey's a little bit surprising. Did not qualify that well. Bush is up there, Chastain, Preece. Chase Elliott a little bit lower on the list, lower than I'd like him to be, but with how good he is at road courses, I'm probably not going to overreact. From that, Byron was able to put down some hot laps. He's a little bit lower on the list here, but overall, I mean, kind of looks like what you'd expect. I won't overreact too much to practice, but I mean, it looks as expected, pretty much. Maybe not in the exact order, but nothing to be alarmed about. Let's go driver by driver. Let's break it all down here. We'll start with the 5-figure range first. We have 3 guys in the 10K range, and then $2,000 more. We have SVG at $12,500. Now, I ran some very quick preliminary projections before I got on here because I wanted to kind of get an idea of what things will look like. I'm going to polish them up after I get off of here. But SVG was far and away the top dog, which you better be if you're going to be $2,000 more expensive than the next guy. If you're playing cash games, I mean, you got to play SVG, I think. Even in tournaments, I think he'll be a solid play. I mean, he's the best guy at road courses. He was the fastest by like 0.3 in qualifying, and he's really good. I don't know what to say. So, yeah, I mean, we're playing SVG. Is he a lock? By no means is he a lock. He's very expensive. He's on the pole, and if anything goes wrong, there's not that many laps where you put down 200 laps and you can finish 15th and you'll still be okay. So just know that there's the risk with the price tag, but if you can make it fit, which I feel like you should be able to do, you just can't quite jam in multiple other 10K drivers, which doesn't really seem too necessary. Just kind of eyeballing it here. You could go SVG, and I don't really feel an inclination that I have to play anybody right below him. You could go down to like a Michael McDowell in 15th. Christopher Bell seems underpriced at $9,000. Dinger, I mean, should be very easy to fit him in. I don't think it's going to be an issue. So yeah, Dinger will be very popular, but rightfully so. Everybody else below him is just going to be straight tournament plays because, like I said, at that price tag, you just can't jam in the other guys. Larson, I like Larson. Like, he's an excellent pivot. He's $2,000 cheaper. You get 10 extra PD spots. Just not as likely to dominate or win, but that's definitely going to be possible. We know he's really good at Sonoma. I mean, if you're looking at his numbers in the next gen era, running position of 9.6. I believe the second or third best driver rating in the top 5, does have a win, and some of the most dominant points as well. It's just that's with SVG not in the picture, and that can definitely make things a little bit worse. Reddick, he's right up there with Larson, although give me the 3 extra PD spots. And Byron should be good. The only issue is we're giving up PD, and he's about the same price tag, so maybe a better FanDuel play because he's $3,000 cheaper than Larson on FanDuel, but in DraftKings, it's pretty minuscule as far as the pricing difference. 9K range, just all guys that are good at road courses. They don't offer a ton of PD, but I think you can mix and match them just fine. Chase Elliott starting in 13th. He'll be a good play. It's just a matter of being able to fit him if you are rostering him with SVG. Ty Gibbs has basically been the second fiddle to SVG so far this year, it seems like. And Michael McDowell, really fast last week, ended up having the issue. Honestly, who knows? Maybe he would have won the race last weekend. He was at least in contention for it. McDowell's very good at the road courses. The price has came up. Back in the day, we used to get him at 7, 8K at the road courses. That is unfortunately no longer the case, and he's 13,000 over on FanDuel. He's been very good at Sonoma in next gen. Average finish of 4th, running position of 7.8, which is second best, only behind Chris Buescher, and 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s. He's been very good. Like if you can play Michael McDowell, I would really recommend doing that. He should project very, very well. And then Christopher Bell, $9,000. He was one of the fastest cars in practice, which his Sonoma numbers aren't like overly impressive. He's been a top 10 guy, but just hasn't quite been up there as far as running position as some of the other drivers. But we know his potential at the road courses. He's shown it so far this year. Was really good at COTA, won that race, made some passes at the end. So you're getting a discount. I mean, he is not saying you can't play him with SVG, but he's over $3,000 cheaper. So, I mean, there's definitely value to be had with that. I do like Christopher Bell quite a bit. Dropping down to the 8K range, Dinger was the fastest car in practice. We did not get to see him in a consecutive 10 or 15 lap run, but in the lap by lap average, he was just a little bit quicker. I do not expect him to be better than SVG, but I think he should be a top 5 contender. He'll be a tournament play only just due to the lack of place differential upside. Chris Buescher, like if it's cash games, I'm taking Buescher over Dinger, even though he was slower in practice. Buescher's just been too good at Sonoma, too good at road courses. I don't see why that would change this weekend. Last week had a bit of a power issue, so we didn't get to see the full potential from him, but I don't think we should be concerned. He has been basically a lock at Sonoma. He's been in the top 5 since 2022 every time, and he's been a dominator. It was close last year. Larson passed him, I believe, on fresher tires. But you gotta love Buescher, and there's not a lot of great PD plays. So him, McDowell, they can be fine in cash. It's just a matter of I need to fit them with SVG. Chastain should be good, but the only issue is he's starting in 4th. So for me, I'd rather find the extra $400 for AJ Allmendinger. Personally, he was quicker in practice, so probably not going to be huge on Ross. I mean, he should be good, but tournament play only. He's like in the same pool as AJ Allmendinger, probably just going to project slightly worse, not meaning he's a bad play, just a lot of downside for where he's starting. Bowman, you can kind of throw him in that same group there, although was not overly impressive in practice. And then Kyle Busch starting in 17th. I'm not going to quite put him in that Buescher and Michael McDowell tier. I really like those two. And you can kind of put them in the Chase Elliott tier. I just feel like their names aren't quite as high as Elliott, so I'm kind of grouping them in their own tier. But I think Busch is somewhat close. He is not bad at road courses. If we're looking at his Sonoma numbers, they've been good. 2 top 15s, does have a top 5 mixed in there. And overall at the road courses, he's been pretty respectable. Does have 7 top 5 finishes, which is only behind Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick in the next gen era, tied with Christopher Bell. Like, his numbers are very solid. So starting in 17th, you could also make a case for him in cash games if that's kind of the range you end up in. 7K range, we have a couple of guys up front, and the rest is going to be PD. And we're finally talking about drivers starting outside the top 20. We have not yet had one of those, which is why I said it. Kind of a intriguing week. It's going to be harder to build lineups than it has been in recent memory. Briscoe, he stayed out last week, ended up having the flat tire, but was going to have a good finish. He's on that same strategy as Denny Hamlin and Bubba Wallace, and both were going to finish top 5, top 8 until Bubba Wallace ended up having that issue with Alex Bowman ruining his race, which I'm sure a lot of you probably were not too happy about because I'm assuming he was in your DFS lineups. He's still a positive PD for where he started, but it could have been an elite day. Briscoe's just starting too high for me. Like, he can run well, but starting in second, there's just no upside here. I would rather... I'm not sure if I'd rather play Denny Hamlin, but I guess I'd have to. Starting 14 spots further back, I'm not sure I'm going to be overly ecstatic about either of them. But on FanDuel, $6,800. I mean, it's $1,200 cheaper than Briscoe. Just not super interested in any of them, really. Ryan Blaney, kind of capped. Like, I would be kind of shocked if Blaney finishes better than 7th. It's right around where he practiced. It's right around where he qualified. He tends to take the points at road courses, which gets really annoying for DFS purposes. At Sonoma, he's been good, though. 2 top 10s in 3 races. And I believe last year was the Sonoma race where he wrecked on lap 1, if I'm remembering this correctly. So he could be a fine GPP play. He starts in the same range of guys like Ross Chastain and Dinger, but I trust them at road courses a lot more than Blaney, personally. But he does come with a price discount, so I would not remove him from the pool, at the very least. But then we get the PD plays, and these guys are a lot easier to play. Cindric, fine if you don't play him in cash games. Good road course racer. Joey Logano, I wouldn't call him a great road course racer, but at the same time, starting in 22nd, he'll probably gain some spots, maybe get weird on strategy. Dale Suarez was very fast in their early run of practice. Looking at where he ended up at the very end. He's 27th in lap by lap data. So he was able to put down a hot lap, 8th in the overall for 1 lap. But other than that, he kind of fell off a bit, which is somewhat concerning. Does have the PD, and of course he did win at Sonoma in 2022, but that was several years ago. Hocevar, I'm not sure we can trust him at a road course. The Spire cars were having trouble keeping it straight in practice, and we all know they kind of had that trouble in real races as well. He was the guy that killed it last week early and took out several cars. 6K range, Bubba Wallace. I'm fine with playing Bubba. He typically... So 2 out of 3 races at Sonoma, he has finished inside the top 20, and recently has been able to grab some top 20 finishes at the road courses. So for where he's starting in 30th, it's fine. Like, you don't even have to be good. Just, you can limp your way to a 23rd. You'll take that. I don't think it's going to be an exciting play, but he's in the player pool. And of course, he was going to crush last week. He was going to be one of the absolute best plays on the entire slate, but just ended up doing something stupid, which is something he kind of does at the road courses. Dropping down to Priest, Keselowski. I mean, I guess I'd rather play Priest, but I'm not going to be in love with either. I'd rather play Gillen, personally, starting all the way back in 35th. Was not fast in practice, but we have PD here. Average running position of 21st at Sonoma, 19th average finish. And if you're looking at 20 race sample size in the next era, usually around 20th place at road courses. And if you get even close to 20th at this price tag for where he's starting, you would be extremely happy with that. Nemechek and Zane Smith are kind of capped, personally. I guess I'd have to have a slight lean to John and Nemechek because you give me the 6 extra PD spots and they practice just about the same, but I wouldn't say either are very overwhelming. And then we just get to a bunch of junk here. Gregson in 32nd. We can pull up the practice times. They were all just really slow. Like qualifying kind of just went how you'd expect these guys to finish for the most part. There's a couple of guys that I think are off, and those are our main plays, like Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, of course, and there's a couple of others. But everybody down here is probably going to be slow, and they're probably going to finish in the back. Catherine, Legay, whatever it is, $4,500. If she starts in 37th, if she's just slow enough where she stays out of the way and a couple of cars DNF, and you can fit in SVG with like a Larson and fit him in with like maybe a Michael McDowell, I am fine going with her. She does not have to do anything. She just has to stay alive. And if a couple of cars DNF, like we saw last week, I'm not saying Sonoma's going to be Chicago, but if it happened to be that, I could see it working out just because of how absolutely cheap she is. And you could maybe even throw in Cody Ware in the same category, but both obviously not going to get there on speed. They just need other guys to have issues, which is 100% possible. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys this week. So I hope you enjoyed. If you did, even if you didn't, make sure you leave a like down below. Scott Champ, brand new. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or check out all the extra content over on Patreon, you can find that link down in the description or the pinned comment. But wish you all the best. I'll see you on the live stream tomorrow, and I'll see y'all next time.